All right, y'all ready, fellas?
Let's get it.
Y'all ready? All right, I want to welcome everyone to our work session this evening. Good to have everybody. We'll get started. Ms. Jones?
You want me to come up?
No, just whatever you do.
Good afternoon. Thank you guys for letting me come. I wanted to update you on some things we have going on. You know, we have the 82 dogs that we took in from the cruelty case out on County Road 6. But that number has grown to over 100 with puppies being born to some of the dogs that were pregnant when we did the seizure with the Sheriff's Department. We are about to post the job for the veterinarian. There's some conversations with Human Resources that we may not be able to get a full-time vet for what we're offering. It's in the budget. So they're suggesting we post it part-time first. Apparently, when they did it years ago, they had somebody almost hired, and then they backed out at the last minute.
How much is in the budget?
It starts at 90,000, and originally I talked to Mississippi State because Mississippi State has a shelter veterinarian tract, and they said that if we posted the job with them, they could guarantee us candidates because they have a tract, they have students who graduate wanting to be shelter veterinarians, especially because if you work for like us, you would have benefits, which typically veterinarians don't have. And kids graduating from the state going to work at a veterinarian would not have those benefits either. So the insurance, the retirement would be, you know, what they'd be looking for. So that would be, and that's really what we geared it towards in the beginning, was hoping that we could get, you know, somebody who wanted to have a career. So there's some discussion back and forth, and I think that they've decided to post the job part-time to see what applicants we get. And I've given them the information for the account that I set up at Mississippi State originally to post it.
So, could we not post it full-time and work down? Is that a conversation that we might need to have with the mayor, or?
Yeah.
That would be, I mean, we've been paying into this for how long? A couple of years, 4 years, some parts? 50%?
Yeah, and we've been going back and forth on this for a little while now about, what the job description should look like and what duties we should be expecting them to do. And what the primary things were that we were hoping to get out of a veterinarian, which for me is spay-neuter, rabies vaccines, and just exams, because, you know, it's killing us. I mean, the animal care costs are killing us.
Do you remember, Cheryl, not to put you on the spot, but do you remember what that cost is? Was it, it's hundreds of thousands of
It's
dollars?
hundreds of, I can tell you that it's more than the $300,000 that was in the budget.
Yeah,
So and so that, you know, the thinking is that if they can do that much, those basic things, we can save a lot of money, because, you know, spay-neuter is very effective, cost-effective if you do it yourself.
So I think the sustainability of the budget would be to go full-time, though, to save.
Well, their thinking is we won't find anybody full-time for what we're,
Who is they, Cheryl?
Human Resources.
Florence is Human Resources? Well, I mean, do you agree with that?
I mean, well, they claimed, they tried it before and we couldn't get anybody, but I think that with Mississippi State, now, a vet out of state would be a little bit slower. But still, I mean, they could become proficient very quickly.
Yeah, I'm with Todd. I mean, I think you post it and see what you get. Then you can rethink it if you don't, and see what the test numbers, see what they are.
Mm-hmm.
So when Mr. Black and I met with the mayor and looked at the cost, the veterinary cost, you know, the thought was it wasn't sustainable going forward, because before long you're going to be in these 7 digits.
Well, because the costs are only getting more expensive.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the spay-neuter in the last 2 years has really gone up at certain places, which is why, you know, we use the spay-neuter clinic, because they are still the cheapest around, and we can take 22 at one time. you know, 12 cats, 10 dogs, which for the money is the best deal that we have going, other than doing it ourselves. And those, you know, those costs aren't gonna go down, because everybody's, you know, watching their bottom line, and you know, everybody wants to make money, which I understand. However, we can't keep doing that, or else we're gonna have to really reduce the number of animals we care for, and, you know, we take a beating anyway, with people if we decide that a dog is not safe to place. We just recently took a beating over a dog that was returned to us after a year, adopted as a puppy, apparently killed everything in the neighborhood. And they brought it back to us because they couldn't do anything with it. It was very dog reactive, so we euthanized it, and then they were all over Facebook saying we killed their dog. No, we killed the dog you returned to us, very aggressive, that we can't safely place. You know, there have been so many incidences just here lately with people being mauled by dogs that, you know, that's just not a risk that we can take. We have to be really sure that an animal is okay before we're gonna place it. And especially in the last couple of years, you know, Lawrence County had one, they finally enacted a containment law. Franklin County had two, still hasn't enacted a containment law. But you know, that's just something that, you know, people don't like it, but euthanasia is out there, and it's gonna be more out there as the numbers of animals keep coming in faster than we can move them back out, and, you know, faster than we can afford to hold them sometimes. So, you know, having the vet is gonna be key to a lot of what we can do to save and cut down our animal care costs.
Which one was the shot that you had that you could get for a couple of dollars, but you had to pay?
Rabies, we can get rabies for $1 through Bowringer, the company that supplies our vaccines, but the cheapest we can get it given is $10 in Huntsville, $12 at one local vet, but the other local vet is $19.99.
And all of them gotta have it?
Yep, rabies is
So that's-
mandated by law.
10 per.
So, you know, if you can save $9 for however many, but $18.99 for however many, I mean, we could save almost as much as we'd be paying a vet if we just could give out our own rabies vaccines and not have to, and do our own rabies quarantines.
So
That's the
what-
other thing.
What can we do? I mean, what needs to happen here? I mean, you know, this has been ongoing, the whole vet thing for, so what can we do?
Facility ready?
Hmm?
Is the facility done?
Hmm?
So it's ready to go? It's just a matter of hiring it? I
Yeah.
went and saw it with her in Huntsville. I mean, where'd we go? Was it Huntsville, Madison?
We went to Huntsville Animal Services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We saw, I mean, it wasn't just the elaborate deal. It was basically, they just took an area and quarantined it off and had certain specific.
Yeah, and see, we get inspected yearly from the Alabama Vet Board, and so we just had our yearly inspection, and so I took the inspector back there and said, okay, this is gonna be our medical suite, is this okay, is there anything we need to do differently, and she said no, it would be fine.
Yeah, I think one of the commissioners can talk, maybe communicate with the city and see if we can expedite
The thinking was whether or not we'd have enough business to keep a vet busy full-time.
that. Well, if you're saving
But-
$500,000, it really doesn't matter.
Well, but I can tell you that we will
Huh?
absolutely have enough business to keep one
We'll
busy
be working 3
full-time.
hours a day if we're saving $500,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could we would, you know, we take in 5,000 animals a year. If you divide that out bi-weekly, we would absolutely have enough business to keep one busy. We could justify that easily, if we can get one to come, and that's what their concern was, that unless we bumped up the pay to what the average is in Alabama, which they say is 150,000, they just didn't think we'd attract anybody at it.
I think this board is all for moving forward with a full-time veterinarian. That's been kind of our goal from
Mhm.
get-go.
Any questions? All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Cheryl. Okay. Sure.
Y'all remember last year, through some of the opioid settlement funds, we created a position, a social service director for Lauderdale County that is attached to the detention center to develop and implement a program of assessment and treatment services. So Miss Jennifer Fowler is here and intern Miss Susanna Stevenson. But I was gonna let Jennifer come up and give y'all a report on how things are going and some stats and stuff like that. We're about, how many months into it?
About 7.
About 7 months, so we're about a little over halfway. But keep in mind, we had to develop this from the ground up, and you know, it's gotten to a point now where things are really moving. So anyway, I just want to let her give you a little update on it.
Hi, my name is Jennifer. Thank you for letting me talk. So what we do is we go into the jail and we assess individuals who are currently incarcerated, and we screen them for mental health needs, and we also screen and then assess them for substance use needs. If they are appropriate for substance use treatment, we connect with the DA and the courts, and we see if they are willing to work with us on getting them released into treatment. And if they are, we go ahead and we start to make referrals for placements, help coordinate placements, and also coordinate transportation for placements. So far, we've assessed over 128 individuals, and out of those, we have been able to assist with getting 57 of them released into some sort of treatment, either inpatient or outpatient. 33 of our inmates have been admitted to state-certified treatment centers so far. And we also help work with the different treatment courts and assessing as needed, and then making connections with some of the inmates and helping them transition into their treatment courts. And another program that we are doing is the health insurance program. So we're able to get inmates health insurance through the marketplace. We have signed up 198 for insurance total since we've started. And we are tracking those, and we're also tracking the inmates who have insurance outside of the marketplace insurance that we've signed them up for. That way, hopefully, we're not doing so many out-of-pocket medical costs. And that's kind of, do you have any questions?
Good.
It's a great program. And I've had fantastic support from the Sheriff's Department and the Detention Center and the DA's office and the courts. I feel like we're working together very well.
Thank you.
Jennifer, you get involved with them after they come to the detention center?
Yes, sir. Right now I do. And I will be meeting with the Lauderdale Bar on the 21st of May to give them an idea of what exactly I do and kind of help, so that if someone's justice involved and maybe hasn't made it to the detention center or has been to the detention center and has bonded out, if we can kind of intervene there to hopefully, and we are also working with Riverbend has a new program called Stepping Up, and we're working with them to help transition individuals with mental health needs into treatment rather than have them sit in our jail.
Perfect. Absolutely. Good job. Thank you.
Mr. Thomas.
Hello? I'm just here to support these folks. So. Now, the big thing, in addition to the numbers she's giving you, is the time of getting those people out sooner rather than later, and getting them into treatment. They were sitting there for 2 years or so before we were able to do what she's doing. So she's doing a great job. And the sheriff asked me to come about the property out there in the East End that we've, the drug-related nuisances. Y'all familiar with that? I mean, as far as I know, Joe, right, we're well underway in getting that done. There's 3 lots out there. We have, the county now owns 2 of them. The other one has got some title problems that they're working through. I sent y'all a little bill for $500 or so. Joe, we get that guy paid. I mean, essentially, we had 2 guys with tax liens on it that agreed if we pay their tax lien off, they'd give us the property. So that's happened. So, I mean, Joe and Tom, they've all been out there getting it cleaned up, and it's 1,000% better. Neighbors are happy, and I guess at this point, at some point, we're just going to have to decide what to do with the property, right? There's some adjoining landowners that are interested in it. I thought I would at some point get with Chris about deciding the best way to sell it in a commercially reasonable way where we're not accused of doing anything other than getting the fair market value for it. So,
I'd recommend auction.
you want to buy it?
No, I don't. You get the fairest price for that day.
On that day?
That's right.
Well, we'll talk about that. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I guess one issue is whether we wait on the third parcel to go, or whether the guy, it's an out-of-state owner whose mother has died and it's still in her name. So I didn't want us to bite off all the expense of going through an estate and all that. So I kind of told the guy, you get the title straightened out, and he may sell it to somebody, private sell it to somebody, and it's gonna be fine, because I think, but anyway, we probably need to let that shake out and then make a decision about the other two pieces. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Let me add one thing too, because I work closely with community corrections, drug court. These people that come to jail, their criminal track is still the same. And it takes a couple, for felonies, you may be talking 18 months, 2 years. While that's going on, every one of these services help collateral issues that affect the entire county, whether it's jail population, whether it's recidivism, whether it's identifying mental health, and doing it on the front end rather than the back end is, I think, especially early in the program, has possibilities that could exceed even my expectations that I had when Chris first came back to sign these. And so, I mean, but their criminal cases are still ongoing. It's just why let them sit there for 2 years paying for everything? I mean, the insurance thing especially. You can just, every issue that affects the county can be, with an inmate, pre-conviction can be affected by this work. Thank you.
So notice I didn't ask to send money.
Thank you. Next time.
Okay, Billy not here. Rodney? No. You don't have any? Okay. If somebody speaking for Eric.
There's a Kenworth truck that had an accident probably about a year ago, and we've gotten prices on it. The total price to fix it would be $86,704.92. Of that, $61,494.42 for the parts, and doing those off the source file to lower the cost of the repair.
That's one of those bars.
Yes, sir.
All right. Tom?
Just a couple of things briefly. First of all, we had St. Paul Rain Saturday. We participated in their town-wide cleanup. We picked up 108 bags of garbage Saturday. T&T picked up Campbell 30 Wednesday, and we got 52 off that day. And then Saturday, they picked up Campbell 61 from Big Star to 314, 47 from Big Star up to 320, and 320 all the way to 5. They had about 50 people out there. So it turned out really well. So, only other thing is, if y'all hadn't known now, but I've had to close Rush Creek Park for a while. I got 80 trees down there. This down.
I saw 80.
So, we were going to try to do it ourselves, and had a gentleman, his name's Tim Sharp, he owns a logging company in Waterloo. He called me Friday. He said, "Look, I know about Rush Creek." He said, "How would you like some help?" I said, "Well, how much that help gonna cost me?" He said, "It don't cost you a dime." He said, "I'll buy them from you if you want me to." I said, "No, you come get them, you have them free." So he moved his equipment in Saturday. We kept everything shut down, and he was coming in today when he got through with another job, and he was gonna start cleaning stuff up. We hope to have the boat ramp and the parking area open by tomorrow or Wednesday at the earliest. And then we'll keep working our way back.
Yeah.
But, and the ironic thing is, we had 20 trees, dead trees down there, we was gonna have to cut down. Not the person hit the ground.
Really?
But, there was, and on the good side, there was no damage to any of the physical part down there. No hydrants got busted, no you know, no buildings got tore up,
Yeah.
nothing.
That's
So-
good.
So we're working to get that done. So hopefully we hope to have it back open as best we can this week and maybe the camping next week if everything goes well. We just don't want to tear up anything up with going in there with skidders and stuff. And this guy told me, he said, I've worked on parks before. And so he said, I can bring a crew down there. And I said, just come on.
Tom, in case rumors get out that we're logging Brush Creek Park, have you let TVA know this?
No, I'm gonna send him an email, just, yeah, we're not logging it, but I mean, you know, yeah, I know. So, I was gonna send Derek an email, just to let him know, so. I know TVA knows the damage.
It's clean up.
Yeah, that's what it is, so. Anyway, that's about all I got.
What about the mulch?
I'm sorry. Your mulch has been out there for a week.
Where's it at on?
When you come in, when you turn in the landfill, it's right there on the left,
Right
before
there on
you,
the left.
before you get into the gate.
Okay.
We took 4 dump truck loads out there last week, and
Okay.
took 2 more today.
Okay.
So, it's there.
Has
It's got a little barbed wire in it.
Has that been treated?
No, no, it's treated.
Okay.
Keeps the riffraff out.
That's right. Also too, for, you know, I told you we were getting this gravel off of the mall. We've got so much out there that we're probably saving $20,000 just in gravel. It's amazing what they're bringing in. It's all fine. I mean, it's chipped up. They've taken everything out of it. And the deal with working with Joe and him, we've made 5 loads out of there. So we have everything. We're waiting on somebody to push up everything else now. And Thornton's got a bin out there, and we're putting all the metal in it. So, but everything we can get up is gone now. So.
Yeah.
Is that concrete that they're bringing, where they pulverized it?
Mhm. It's pretty amazing what they're doing. And they're moving from side to side. They'll do one side. They're actually gonna take the flooring up, the old concrete base flooring. That could be a lot more too coming through. So,
How about
anyway, thank you. That's all I got. All right.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay. Brad?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been a very slow month for EMA. 2 things I need to make you aware of, and I'm not asking you for any money right now, so just putting that out there on the front end. I talked to Chairman Pettis last week. There are 2 grant opportunities that we'd like to apply for. They are 100% grants, but they are reimbursable grants. So they're not in the budget at this point because obviously they weren't available. We didn't know that they were going to come through. We still don't know if they're going to come through, but I would like the Commission's permission to apply for both of these. The first one is RC&D grant. It'll be $8,000 that we're asking for, and that's for searchlights. With the 6 tornadoes that we've had, we've noticed that we have a deficiency there, so we're going to talk to RC&D and would like to move forward with that. The second is an ALEA grant. It's a questionable grant right now. It's open. It may or may not happen, and I'll kind of explain why in just a second. But the Fire Association has asked us to partner with them to replace the cart system that they have. If you recall, the cart system is a trailer that fills air tanks that can be brought to a scene of a fire. The current cart that they have was purchased about 17 years ago. It was purchased through the same grant program and through the commission, but they've gotten to the point now that it's, number one, it's been used so much that it's got a significant amount of wear and tear, and a lot of the electrical components on it that monitor how much air is going in those tanks are starting to fail, and they're having increased difficulty in finding replacement parts, namely because the technology has changed so much. And so the cost of that is $130,000. So I'd like the Commission's verbal okay to move forward with applying for those grants. If and when we are awarded those grants, then I'll come back before the Commission for a budget resolution associated with those, and I will not be allowed to take those grants until the Commission approves accepting those grants. Everybody good with that? All right. And then tomorrow I was asked to come to the City Council and talk about storm shelters, and so I want to make sure that the message is the same for both the Commission and the Council. And I know that I've shared a lot of emails back and forth with the Commission and with the Council related to storm shelters, with individuals asking, what storm shelters are out there, what's available and whatnot. So first and foremost, Lauderdale County nor the City of Florence own any storm shelters within the county. It has been strictly voluntary, just forever. That's just kind of how it's been. Prior to COVID, there were about 19 different locations in the county and the city that opened their doors during inclement weather and allowed people into their facilities. When COVID happened, obviously that changed the dynamic. If you'll recall, COVID was first impacting our area in February of 2020. By April of 2020, there was stay-at-home orders. That was in the peak of our weather season. And so a lot of faith-based institutions, which is who primarily were involved in those 19, decided to step away. After COVID had run its course, if you will, the majority of those churches just said, we don't have the population, we don't have the volunteers, we don't want to accept the responsibility to be involved in that. So if the commissioners that were sitting in 2022 will remember, there was an attempt by EMA to locate or to gather some money to build some county and city-owned storm shelters. At that point in time, when that grant was applied for, it was specifically for 8 locations in Lauderdale County, nothing in the city. And those were in Grassy, Tunersville, Center Star, Oakland, Zip City, Central, Cloverdale, and Green Hill. That grant was part of the additional money that was allotted for COVID, and we were unsuccessful. That grant was not awarded. And so since that time, obviously with 6 tornadoes coming through this year, there's been a lot of questions about it. And so to make sure everybody has all of the correct information, generally speaking, absent an event like COVID, there are 2 funds that money can come from for things like storm shelters. The first is the Hazard Mitigation Grant, which only happens, I know that's Commissioner Garner's favorite word, only happens when there's a federally declared disaster. So 2011 storms, 2014 storms, 2019 floods, when those federal disasters, that grant opens up. So we are not under any type of federal disaster declaration, so that grant is not an option. The second is the BRIC grant, which is a Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities grant. That grant has been available year over year for about the last 15 years. Normally that pays out about $1 billion of federal funds to local communities to build resiliency within the community. We were notified 2 weeks ago by Secretary Nome with DHS that grant program has been suspended indefinitely, and any outstanding grants that had been paid during fiscal 23 or fiscal 24 had to be returned immediately to the federal government. Now that's in court on the 23-24, but 2025 doesn't exist. So that's a significant impact for local communities. That's a significant impact for us. While I'm confident that after some of this government realignment finishes, that there will be some money that's available, as far as timeline and how that's going to look, we don't know. If you've paid attention to the politics, there have been multiple conversations between the media and the president of doing away with FEMA completely and passing all of that responsibility and that funding down to the state government. So we're really not sure what that looks like or where that's gonna be. So the question that has come up over the last couple of weeks is really twofold. Number one, for those that you represent in the city of Florence, the question has been, well, why aren't we using the Coliseum? I mean, Coliseum's big, it looks like a storm shelter from the outside, why aren't we using that? And really it's 3 reasons. One's location. It's on top of a hill, it's not blocked by any winds, it is by far, and I can say this from sitting in that parking lot from time to time over the last 25 years, there are times that you don't want to be anywhere near that Coliseum when a storm is coming through or when you can see it coming from Culver County. Second is that it was built in 1953. And I shared with several an image from Marshalltown, Iowa from 2019, a Coliseum that was built with the same style, same materials, and built during the same time frame was hit by a low-end F3 tornado. When that location was hit, there were 18 young men and young women inside that facility playing basketball. Thankfully, they had a basement built into that Coliseum. We do not have a basement built into the Florence Lauderdale Coliseum. And those 18 children were able to get to the basement and survive that. But in the imagery that you see from that, the roof was completely ripped off. It had partially collapsed. Point being is the Coliseum was never intended to be, and it was never built to a standard that would allow us to use it as a shelter during storms. The liability is just too great, and again, it's not built to withstand anything. Just for your reference, if the county if we were to take those 8 locations that we talked about earlier, in 2022, the cost to build one shelter in Lauderdale County was about $210,000. Today, based on what CPI is and based on inflation, that price increases to $250,000 per location.
How many person just there?
96. So if you're looking at it from a person or a cost per person, to build a storm shelter is about $2,700 per person that you want to put inside that facility. So obviously you can flex those numbers however you want to. Now that price does not include the acquisition of land. So if we go back to the 2022, there were some partnerships that were developed with Grassy Baptist Church, with Mount Bethel United Methodist in Toonerville, and Antioch Church of Christ on County Road 71 in Center Star. In those, there were documents that were drafted and that were approved that basically gave this commission a 30-year lease for 1 acre of that property for the purpose of placing that storm shelter there. Additionally, there were 3 agreements that were established between Oakland Volunteer Fire Department, Zip City Fire Department, and Central Fire Department to take 1 acre of their property and use it for this purpose. The property that was on Cloverdale is privately owned, but it was near the school. And then the original location in Green Hill, I believe, was at the old fire department that they ended up selling. And so we would have to locate another potential location there. I think if we look back at the 2019 or the 2022 numbers versus the 2025 numbers, I'm pretty confident in that price per person. Because I think there's some land available. If that's an avenue that the commission wants to explore, then I think we can obviously do that. I will say that in response to what's happened with the federal government with the BRIC grant, Chairman Pettis has had some conversations with Senator Tuberville. I've talked with Senator Britt's office and Congressman Strong's office, trying to put together some ideas and some proposals. There will probably be some letters drafted from my office to those federal representatives, encouraging them to allocate funding for that. Best case scenario, outside of using local money, we're probably looking at middle of next year before we have answers for that. So I do want to, again, just bring that to your attention, knowing that conversation is going to happen with the city tomorrow. I wanted to make sure that you were aware of the information.
There was another one at Elgin.
Yes, the Elgin one, well, there's actually one at Elgin and there was one at Anderson, and they were not filed for in that last grant. The Elgin property, looking back through the documents from when that grant was filed, I don't understand why Elgin wasn't filed. Anderson wasn't filed because Mayor Glass wanted it between City Hall and there was a fence row basically, or not a fence row, a tree row by the old Anderson Junior High baseball field was where that one was supposed to be located. And there was some concerns about accessibility. The Elgin one, I don't know why it wasn't added. It should have been, but it was never filed for.
I think that the park committee wants to kind of move that. They're gonna tear down the fence of that little ball field.
Mm-hmm.
It might go right in there.
Yes, sir.
That'd be a lot better scenario.
Yeah, my only concern with Elgin, and one of the things, and I know Eric and the road department are working on it, but what we've seen specifically in the last couple of months is we've got some additional flooding because of development out there that we've never had before. And so we've got to do something about the drainage with the ball field. During the last heavy rains that came through, I think this was the beginning of March storm, or middle of March storm, we had water all the way up to what used to be the infield of the ball field. And so, yes, sir. And so that's a little concerning. Part of that, I think, is there's some development that's going on to the south of the ball fields that is causing some impact, and then some of the Tracy Lane drainage has been rerouted or is being forced to reroute across under the highway through there, and so we've got to work through some of that for there. But I think either way, there's some options that are available, and depending on how these are laid out, that acre rule may not really apply, especially in areas where we can tie into either existing sanitation or where we can lessen the footprint of what a septic system would look like going in. For instance, at Central Fire Department, they have an existing sanitation system that's there, and I think we can tie onto theirs, plus we can tie onto water there, which might, in that case, lessen it. Whereas the Tunersville location, we can't do that. We'd have to put in all new. So I think that we can move some stuff around, but just for your consideration, that's kind of what the dollar amounts would look like.
Brett, how many communities don't have a shelter at all?
There's one for the entire city of Florence. Center Star does not have one. Elgin does not have one. Anderson kind of does. They've got a church. Oakland does not. Central's closest one is County Road 7.
Pleasant Hills?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Cloverdale does not.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
If you decided to do one, what's the turnaround? And do you think, and listening to you, you think that's a possibility down the road of some federal money? If you decided to do one, what's the turnaround? Are these, I know they're not stick built. I mean, they come in custom framed. And
No. So the ones that were quoted out as part of the grant process were actually manufactured by a local company. Because of the price, we'd obviously have to follow state bid law, and so that you're looking at a 30-day turnaround from that point. Assuming that there's no construction issues, 60 days maybe.
Do you think federally, fairly confident that they will have to go back with some funding?
Yeah, I mean, I do think, FEMA's got to exist in some way.
Right.
I was in Selmer, Tennessee yesterday and had an opportunity to talk with a number of residents and some officials from up there. So Selmer has not seen the first FEMA representative show up in their community. Now granted, the day that they got hit with their F3 tornado, there were 48 other reported touchdowns of tornadoes, including 2 in Lauderdale County. That's very, very concerning that we're 2.5 weeks out of that and there are still areas without power. They haven't started the cleanup process. And I mean, obviously that's bothersome, that's the direction. I think from my office's standpoint, middle of June, I'll have a pretty good idea. FEMA's supposed to be here in Lauderdale County for a Browns Ferry exercise. They have already gutted that exercise, for lack of a better term. The actual demonstration of what you have to do has all been removed. It's gone to a tabletop mode because they don't have enough people on staff in order to do stuff with it. So I guess the most direct answer is, let me see what happens with FEMA in June. If FEMA doesn't show up at all, then I think we need to have some tougher conversations.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
We can, Total's obviously apply for appropriations to get it done. Opens February the 1st. Of course, that's what they end up awarding that, like, in the fall, I guess, on appropriations, something like that.
Okay.
That's a 26. But I don't know, the grant part, that's.
We just, and it's scary that direction because so much of what emergency managers across the state do is so directly tied to federal funding. And if that money continues to dry up, then it falls on the shoulder of local government and it just creates a mountain of problems. So, our hope continues to be that we're going to see some movement in that direction. We just don't know at this point when it's going to be or what it's going to look like. Any other questions? Thank you, Sharon.
Oh, sorry.
We need to add the resolution on the proposal from Environmental Systems that was preliminarily orally agreed to with commitment letter. This is the group that facilitates the mechanical systems implementation, construction, and installment at the Workforce Development Center. It's a $62,000 contract. Professional services exempt from bid law. We'll add the resolution, pass the resolution. I'm in the process of doing a very, very simple contract that basically adopts the proposal as far as the elements of the contract, but there's a few other things, including time and procurement of payment, timing of that I'm currently waiting to talk to Summer Coleman from Volker. So when I get that done and get that contract done, we'll come find you, Danny, and get a signature and get it all back in the mail this week. The lease MOU on Northwest Shoals and the junior college system should be coming back with the final response to the final amendment suggestions. Hopefully the end of this week. The president of the college was out of town last week, so their attorneys should be able to get with them this week, pass it on the 28th, ink it on the 28th. And then I've also started the process of identifying and contacting the attorney in Huntsville for the Board of Education about rental opportunities for the board for its children and workforce development. I will send him a comprehensive email in the morning, and that negotiation on that MOU will, after he talks to the superintendent, will go forward. And I've got some information for you that I need to show you on things that I'm looking at, and I've been given some other things to research. So there's my update.
All right. Okay. I guess department heads can go. You want me to do?
Thank y'all for coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
You too, Rodney.
You too, Rodney. Always a pleasure.
Okay. What we got?
We have a library board appointments with the city. Nancy Gunn's term expired on January 28th. And then their office is gonna start updating the travel policy and the website. The company who built the website originally, they've gone out of business. We have another company that's in town that still helps us host the website. Brady spoke with the gentleman named Jim Doyle with Ingenuity. They handle a lot of the county websites across the state, especially your Ingenuities with your probate judge's office. I think some counties are anywhere between 8,000 and 10,000. It's a shell, they drop your information into it, and then they teach you how to update it and make all the changes you want to it. But we want to try to make the website a little more user-friendly.
Please.
And a little bit more direct and not so around the world in a million places.
Yeah.
And that'll have a place on there better for the employees to be able to get their
Yes.
stuff too.
We're
That's
still
something
working on
that
the
we talked about.
ESS
Yeah.
with
ESS.
Smart Fusion. They've got some kind of issue or hiccup. Not really sure what it is. We've reset the server here several times, so I know it's something on the Smart Fusion side. I just don't know what. But we haven't paid for that since 2015, so we would like to use it.
And I know Mr. Black's probably very familiar with it, but one advantage at my employer is I can go in there and get my check stubs, W-2s, change my tax. That'll all be, that's a big perk for the employee.
Just a human resources platform
Yeah.
that helps your human resource department.
That's a perk for the employee.
Even the department heads can go in and put down their timesheet information, and you can drop it into payroll, and then they don't have to turn around and rekey everything.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
think it's gonna cut
It'll be a
down
money
the
saver.
time and
Yeah.
streamline.
Print your W-2 forms straight off there.
Yeah.
It's really however you want to customize it to what you want, but whatever makes y'all's process
And then
smooth.
add hopefully purchase orders, requisitions, all 9 yards to it. it's just, I've got to get Smart Fusion to link it back to our server.
So when you get to that point, we'll have to get you with that other guy I was telling you about that makes the document, the forms for it. But I mean, it's easy. So, and you just lay out what you want and who you want it to go to in that order.
It's a big plus for the employee.
Absolutely.
I think it'll help a lot.
Sure.
I'm gonna jump back to library. Is Ms. Gomes interested in staying on?
From my understanding, she is, if we can reach out to her and ask her directly.
She did a good job on the library for us, so if you wouldn't mind.
I'll ask.
Sure.
That's all I have.
Okay, anything else, folks?